Hello again, everyone. Welcome to Cotton Grower Magazine's Cotton Companion podcast. I'm Jim Stedman, editor of Cotton Grower. With me, as always, my colleague and good friend, Beck Barnes. Now, we've been getting reports on how good or how not so good crops looking by midsummer. But I'll tell you, based on some fields I saw in West Tennessee over the weekend, I'm really impressed with how things look in this area. But with some of the crazy weather we've been dealing with for the past few weeks, I guess you could just about expect anything out there. And what do you hear, Beck?
Yeah, I'm glad that, I mean this sincerely, I'm happy that the cotton crop is enjoying all the rain around here in the Mid-South and the kind of upper Delta area, across the Boot Hill and across Arkansas Delta and upper Mississippi Delta. My electricity, on the other hand, has not been enjoying the storms that have come through here. I've been a power and light and water refugee for much of the past 10 days here in Midtown. I mean, our power goes out up here in East Memphis, rather, every time the wind blows. And man, it has been blowing for the past month, really. It's been a mess here in Memphis, power going out. But anyhow, Crimea River, I am happy that our farmers are enjoying some rain around here. I know that I talked to a couple of our buddies out in West Texas over the past couple of weeks, and it's a different story out there. You know, I guess generally what I'm hearing is it's just kind of been spotty with rain earlier in the season. And, you know, we had great hopes with all of the weather reports we were reading in the early spring about it changing to an El Nino. I think I've got that right, Jim.
And that's true, yes. Very good.
Yeah, there was going to be more rain this season, especially compared to last season. And that we did see a little bit early on, apparently, out there. But yeah, we need some more at this point. Just still a little dry in a lot of those pockets out there on the high and rolling plains. So yeah, if we could just give them a fraction of what we've gotten here in Memphis over the past 10 days, we'd both be happy about that.
Yeah, definitely. Well, yeah, rain, regardless of where it is, we know overall acres are down this season. It's interesting. The expectations are still calling for roughly a 16 million bale crop out of this. And that's pretty healthy and ambitious based on how this year has gone so far. But speaking of ambitious, we're actually expanding the scope of this companion episode to look at the status of cotton production season in Australia. I had the opportunity to visit with 3 representatives of the Australian cotton industry recently. We had a great conversation about some of their challenges and about some of the differences and similarities between production down under and across the U.S. cotton belt. It's a great time with that interview, some interesting folks to talk with. I think you're going to enjoy it. So stay tuned. We're going to share that with you in just a few minutes. But first, a few other items to share.
Yeah, Jim, as you know, Cotton Incorporated is conducting a natural resource survey with all of the U.S. cotton producers. They're trying to gather information to help guide that organization's future research priorities and document U.S. cotton production improvements. It's an online survey. It should take about 25 to 35 minutes to complete. And the participants who complete the survey before July 31 are going to be mailed a free 30-ounce Yeti Rambler cup featuring the Seal of Cotton trademark that's so popular. That's the one that's on everybody's car tags that you see around town. So that'd be a pretty nice little tchotchke to get in exchange for completing that survey. Only aggregated data from the survey will be used, so don't worry about no individual grower data is going to be shared. Don't worry about that. And a similar version of this survey was administered in 2008 and 2014. So having a representative and up-to-date data set of U.S. cotton production is critical to help tell U.S. cotton's sustainability story and document continuous improvement in the industry. To take the survey, you can visit cottoninc.com/ag survey. That's cottoninc.com/ag survey. Or you could see the complete article on cottongrower.com, which features a QR code that can be scanned to access the survey. Look at us being so technologically advanced, having a QR code on our screen. Yeah, if y'all don't know how that works, take a picture of that code with your phone or just open your phone's camera and scan that QR code, and it'll give you a link that you can click and go take this survey. Again, the deadline is July 31, and that's coming fast. And we know that they're going to appreciate your input. They need your input. For those of y'all who have not had the chance to go visit Cotton Incorporated there in North Carolina, boy, if you ever get the chance, I highly encourage you to do that. It's so neat. The research and development they're doing there is so important to our industry. But they don't know what to focus on if y'all don't tell them what to focus on. So go take that survey and let them know what's happening out in the real world so they can best serve you. So switching gears for a second. This is normally Jim's beat, but he's giving me the wheel to the crop progress report.
Go for it, man.
So I'm happy to do that. So it's always said that cotton loves the heat. We know that's true based on the numbers from USDA crop progress report for the week ending July 23. The heat of the past week has made a big difference, especially up there in Oklahoma. Overall squaring is now reported in 78% of the U.S. crop. That's up 14 points in the past week, and still 5 points behind the 5-year average for this date. 7 states, so about half the belt, are currently ahead of their respective average. Likewise, bull set is now reported in 37% of the total crop. That's up 12 points in the past week and 2 percentage points off of average. 3 states are ahead of their 5-year average when it comes to bull set. So what about Oklahoma? The report shows that cotton maturity exploded in the state over the past week. Squaring jumped from 32% all the way up to 79%. That is a whopping 37 percentage points. And bull set went from unreported to 25% across the state. Pretty good week. And I suspect it was a little warm up there in Oklahoma the last week. Overall, U.S. cotton conditions showed a few percentage points movements, but remained relatively consistent. 46% of the crop is rated as good/excellent, 30% rated as fair, and 24% rated poor or very poor.
Yeah, it's actually a pretty good report for this week, mid-season. I will point out one discrepancy in there simply because, East Tennessee guy doing math, sort of, along the same lines of, Ole Miss math.
Yeah, not terribly reliable.
That squaring number from Oklahoma is actually up 47 points in the past week, rather than 37.
I just would have plowed right through. I would not have caught that.
That's all right, because I after doing all my calculations yesterday, I go, and it doesn't look right. But what the heck? Math is not our strong point, nor does it need to be.
Yeah,
as we have proven time after time.
Repeatedly.
There's a cycle here, I don't know, and we'll probably never get out of it.
Yeah.
What the heck? Anyway, back to some serious stuff. Several weeks ago at Southern Cotton Ginners Association summer meeting over in Alabama, the program featured some presentations on the status of the Australian cotton industry from 3 prominent mates. Nickel Thompson, who's International Sales Manager for Vandergriff America, Tony Lockery, who is Senior Agronomist and Manager for Agricultural Marketing and Production Systems, and Mike Murray with Nemoid Cotton and a Technical Director, a product called FiberTrace. Now, we had the opportunity to visit together for a few minutes, discuss a broad range of topics related to Australia and to the U.S. We had a great visit, and here's what they had to say. Well, at this point in the cotton growing season, U.S. growers are working hard to manage their weeds, insects, and plant size, and the focus is completely on their fields. But in other parts of the world, the focus is on wrapping up this year's crop. And we're sitting in Florence, Alabama for the Southern Cotton Ginners Association summer meeting, and we've had the opportunity to kind of widen our vision, so to speak, with participation of several members of the Australian cotton industry with us. They're in the U.S. visiting with some of their counterparts. They're attending this meeting, and they're graciously taking some time to sit and visit with us today. So joining us for this episode are Nickel Thompson, he's International Sales Manager for Vandergriff America, Tony Lockery, who is Senior Agronomist and Manager, Agricultural Marketing and Production Systems, and Mike Murray with Nemoid, did I pronounce that correctly? Nemoid, okay, Cotton Limited, and Technical Director of FiberTrace. Gentlemen, thank you for taking time this morning to sit, visit with us, and welcome to the Cotton Companion.
Thank you.
Okay. let's start with just a quick history of cotton in Australia. I know in the U.S. you can trace the history back centuries. When did the Australian industry really pick up and take off?
Yeah, the industry picked up, the modern industry, 1961 it started. I think it was Frank Hadley and Paul Cole out of California. They came over in 1961, and then soon after, several other American families followed, and that's when the industry started. But the actual first cotton was grown in 1788, but it wasn't very successful. And so the modern industry, 1961.
Okay. How many growers are part of the industry in Australia right now?
There's around about 1,500 farms, farmers growing cotton, and 90% of them are family farms. Yeah. So we're not a massive industry in terms of numbers, but we're pretty productive and pretty efficient. Yeah.
What areas of Australia? Now, I know there are kind of multiple areas of production. Where's the primary production?
Yeah, the main production started in the Namoi and Blyther valleys in sort of northern New South Wales, and then spread into anything that was black and flat and had water, and a bit of Celsius, a bit of Fahrenheit in your country, so a bit of temperature. So it spread. The main industry would have about 1,000 kilometre spread on it, north to south. But lately we've had some more areas pop up that are keen to grow cotton and starting to look like putting gins in as well.
Mm-hmm. Mike, how many gins are there in Australia right now?
36. There's a few. Namoi cotton owned the majority of these gins, and they're spread from the Queensland border down to the southern parts of New South Wales. The Auscot group was a large part of the expansion of the cotton through the 70s, 80s, and right through to the mid-2000s. But it's been taken over by Australian Food and Fibre over the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, there's a few. Queensland Cotton has got around 6 or 7 gins. And then there's quite a few independents as well.
Mm-hmm. Are there plans for new gins? I know you were talking about expanding cotton production, moving into some other areas of the country. So
There's a push north. The groundworks have started around Kununurra, which is far north of Western Australia. Mm-hmm. There's also a gin being constructed as we speak in the Northern Territory near Katherine. And there's pre-planning towards building a gin in North Queensland as well.
One of the things that fascinated me yesterday in your presentation, I think, was the photo of the truck with 3 trailers, and what you're moving that cotton, 2,000 miles to get to a gin on it.
Yeah, that's right. But that's where those new gins will be. We won't be moving it that far because it's not profitable. But that's right. It was you needed to do that, just to make get the cotton into the gin.
I think it's universal. You do what you have to do. Yeah. It doesn't matter what country you're in to get things done. Tony, you mentioned the biggest factor in cotton production in Australia obviously is water. It's water management. It's obviously, that sounds real familiar, from a U.S. perspective too. What are some of the challenges and constraints that your growers have to deal with? And I'm sure there's a lot of similarities between what you have and what the U.S. growers have. But what do your growers generally have to work with in terms of, just in-field and also regulatory?
Yeah, so we're a semi-arid country in terms of our water availability. Our Murray-Darling Basin, which is the biggest area that grows cotton, averages about 19 inches of rain a year. That's it. So we try and store water in dams when we have wet seasons. Our rain's very variable. We can go down to 4 inches a year, or we could be up 40 inches a year. So, and it might all turn up in 10 inches overnight or something. So we've got very variable climate. We try and mitigate that a bit with storage dams. Bigger ones that are government funded on valleys, or even our small storages on farms that will try and hold a year or two's worth of water in that. We've got a very high evaporation rate, so some of our valleys would have 80 inches of evaporation, so hot and dry in a given year. So we'd try and grow a cotton in deep black soils that hold a lot of moisture. They would hold 8 to 10 inches of available moisture for the crop. And then we're very judicious, and we try to be very efficient in how we grow our crop to make the most out of every drop of water that we can get. You know, if we get a fall of rain out of the sky, we're very grateful for it, and we'll catch that on farm. And even in our dryland farms, we'll plant our cotton into wheat stubble, so the moisture that falls stays in the ground and doesn't run off or evaporate as much as possible.
You mentioned, obviously, you do have dryland acres. You also have some irrigated acres, but you talked to us about banked irrigation?
Yeah, bankless irrigation. So that's a form of surface irrigation. Okay. So the cotton's still growing on a hill with a furrow, but instead of a head ditch and a tail drain at either end of the field, it'll just be fairly open with a big gate, and the water will run in from both ends of the field. The field's quite level. Wets up to the middle, and then it drains out to the next set. So it drains out of that paddock to the next one. So it's an innovation, particularly around labour saving. So we find it very hard to get labour, similar to here, to pull siphons or do other work on the farm. So we noticed in the drought in 17, 18, 19, a lot of growers, because they had dry paddocks and wanted to try and hold the stuff they had, did a lot of work redeveloping paddocks to bankless. Yeah, it's still an efficient way to irrigate, but efficient on labour as well as water. Yeah.
Now in the U.S., we have this what they call the Palmer amaranth, pigweed, devilweed, and a lot of other names that we can't really say on on a broadcast at this point. What are your problems?
Weeds. Yeah, we've got a few with funny names as well. And I think, we've been using these herbicides only for 50 years, and Roundup Ready cotton came along, and it just looked like it was going to save us all. We saved a lot of time chipping and cultivating, but we just relied too heavily on that one active, and we made similar mistakes in Australia. So we've got Roundup resistant weeds, mainly grasses in our scenario. So we've got a lot more grasses, probably 4 or 5 Roundup resistant grasses, but we still have fleabane and milk thistle, and we have a red pigweed that are reasonably tolerant to Roundup. So we're back doing the pre-emergent herbicides and cultivating. We haven't got many chippers in the field yet. We probably should, but we're using optical cameras as well, optical sprayers. So we're fighting We've got a group in Australia called Weed Smart, and that's a government-funded initiative as well, and that goes across all industries, just coming up with the best ways to tackle weeds, particularly resistant weeds in our system.
And so it's good. Nicola, you mentioned yesterday in terms of 100% of your production goes into the export market, correct? Correct. Tell me a little bit about how that works. I think you were saying your bale size is just a little different than the U.S. Your packaging's a little different in the U.S. What's the philosophy behind that, and how do you make that work?
Yeah, so all the cotton in Australia is packaged in a cotton bag, which is different to the US. It's all polyester strap, same as the US, 6 straps per bale. So our bale is still 500 pounds, but it's a high density bale, and the dimensions are 20 inch by 41 inch. So that means we can stack them 2 high in a container, and we can fit 114 in a container, which allows 26 ton. Whereas a US universal density bale, there's only 88 in a container. So that's about just under 20 ton. So 6 ton per shipment. So and it's just all about saving. Yeah.
Okay. Where does most of that cotton go?
All over. China used to be a big market that that went a little bit sideways, I guess, through the COVID period. I think they're trying to reform that relationship. Japan, Italy, Bangladesh, India, Vietnam. Yeah, so it's marketed all over. Yeah.
Mike, you talked a little bit yesterday in terms of, and we talked in general about traceability, sustainability, and things like that, and the fact that the market is demanding to know where the cotton comes from, and all the steps involved with it. And you're involved with a a product or a program called FiberTrace, I believe. How is that? How, just a quick overview in general, how does that program work in terms of setting up your sustainability, your traceability through the chain?
Well, we receive the fiber trace in a 7-kilo roll. It's then delivered into the gin, into the lymph fluid pipe. We do that at a rate of around 400 grams per 227 kilo bale. We need to be able to regulate the machine automatically so that it fluctuates with the speed of the gin. If the gin stand is thrown out or something's bypassed or for any reason the gin stops, the machine needs to identify that and regulate itself to be able to monitor the same rate. So what then happens is once the bale's ejected out of the press, it's scanned. It's married with the bale number, and that information and data is collected and sent through to the cloud. Once that bale then is received by the spinning mill, it's scanned again, and then again when it's dyed, made into fabric, all the way to the retail. So then we've created a chain of responsibility that can be traced. The brands at the moment around the world are demanding transparency, traceability. So, and I think in the near future, I think the consumer will do so also.
Yeah, I think we're already seeing that a little bit with certainly with the rise of the sustainability and traceability programs all over the world. Particularly in the U.S., we've got several programs that growers can get involved in. A lot of companies have their own sustainability programs, and they all just kind of fit together and almost like a quilt. On that. Now, all of you work closely with the U.S. industry, in one shape, form, or another. What differences or similarities do you see between the two countries? Anything in terms of cotton production? Is there anything in the U.S. that you'd like to try in Australia? And is there anything in Australia that you think U.S. growers should try that you think would work over here?
I think the fact that we're getting together and communicating, there's a lot of feedback after the association meeting yesterday. So I think that just that communication barrier has been broken between the two countries, and that'll only help the future and cotton industry in the future. New innovations on both sides of the Pacific can be shared, I think. We've always looked at the US for new technology to supply us with the machinery needed to gin cotton.
Right.
So I think the more we get together and talk, and I think it's only going to be a good thing for the industry.
Okay. Matt, any thoughts?
Some of the similarities would be, I think, a lot of the gins now in America are probably getting bigger and bigger. In Australia, our costs are so high, and you kind of have to do 50 plus bales per hour, I guess, to get any sort of profit or, cut even. So there's a lot of pressure on that, and I think in the US, there's, the energy costs certainly going up, and I'm not too sure some of the smaller gins might, I don't know if they'll amalgamate with bigger gins. And then the automation, that's a similarity. Most of it comes from America, and as soon as it comes out, we try to adapt it. It's all labour saving for us.
Yep. Okay. On the production side, Tony?
On the production side, I think we've got a great heritage of actually, as Mike indicated before, from America. So our most recent seed and industry kicked off in the 60s with American people and ingenuity and get up and go. The Australian industry has forged on from there and become a very efficient and lean industry. We've got our similar but different issues to deal with, and I think there's certainly some. Or the analogy I had yesterday, I rolled a couple of dice across the floor, and I said, well, that's how we started cotton season in Australia. Like we can we could win or we could lose, and we can lose big. We don't have any real protection underneath us if a crop fails. Our crop at home this year, we were ready to spray it out just before Christmas, and then we got 2 inches of rain and away we went again. So, I think we're a little bit more on the edge in terms of risk in our crop, and that just drives innovation, and it drives gains that you didn't think you could make because now you have to. And we see that in America as well, and we see a more cohesiveness in the industry here. It's great to see the whole group, these 5 states getting together and meeting with the ginning group. And I think the American industry is just a little bit more spread apart and not maybe as cohesive as ours, because ours has really been battened down together for a long time. But we can see that happening in Australia now. We've got areas that are 3,000 kilometres away that are starting up. So we'll try and keep our industry really cohesive. And I think at the same time we're seeing the US industry becoming more cohesive as Nicholas said, you've gone in this little area from 300 gins down to 130. Like there's that sort of rationalisation has to happen, and that's a history that you've got to work through, which we don't have. But to head into the future together, we've both got to be doing similar things. Yeah, we've got to be innovative. We've got to be efficient. Yeah.
Now, I know, Mike, you mentioned that you're in the midst of ginning season right now. All those gins are running and going strong right now.
They are, and I've been in constant contact with my ginners, and they're wondering what I'm up to. But the crop this year was a dry pick. Totally opposite what happened last year with the flooding. But it's been a dry pick this year. It's made things a lot easier. Everyone's getting good numbers. It's a lot of consistency and less downtime. And that's all well for the season. We should be finished in probably the first week in September. Our particular gin will gin 145,000 bales. Namoi as a group will gin 1.3 million bales. So it's a very positive season for us.
Antonio, at what point are the growers going to take those dice and roll them back out? When do they roll back into the fields to start all over again?
Yeah, okay. Well, we're putting money on the table now with fertiliser and diesel fuel, putting paddocks back together. We've got some water in the system, so we know we've got a season for some of our paddocks. We may not have full water this year, but that could improve if it rains, and if it floods, we're in trouble again in the other direction. So we'll see what happens. But we normally plough to irrigated crop in October. The dryland crop, they'll sometimes wait a little bit longer. They'll get harvest done and then plant the cotton in November. So that's when we start rolling the dice and adding a few more chips on the way through. And then come April, we'll be defoliating and picking April, May, and through it again. And that's when we find out what the numbers are on the dice at the other end.
Sounds good. So, sitting here today, what's next? Where are you headed next? All you hear in the news, where are you headed next before you head back home?
I think, myself and Mike, we head back to Memphis, and then on Sunday we go to Georgia, have a meeting Monday with a farmer and grower, and producer in Georgia, just outside of Dawson. Okay. And I believe Tony flies back Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah, we fly back Sunday, but we've had an amazing time meeting the Southern cotton growing people of America. Fantastic hospitality, and we were saying yesterday we feel just a little bit closer to heaven when we get together with these people, so that's great. And we're going to try and get on a couple of farms and catch up with some people here and then fly back Sunday.
Okay. Any gin visits?
Well, hopefully so. When we get to Georgia, we'll have a look at a couple, and the manager there is keen to show me his wares.
They always like to show them off.
Yeah.
Definitely. Well, gentlemen, I want to thank you for taking time to visit with me today. Certainly appreciate you sharing how your industry works, your perspective on the overall global industry. We've always said U.S. cotton industry is like a great big family, and Australia, based on what you're saying, is pretty much the same way at this point. So safe travels. I certainly hope our paths cross again somewhere down the road.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So, all right, that's it for this episode of the Cotton Companion podcast. We want to thank so sincerely our friends from Australia for taking the time to visit with Jim. with their excellent accents. With everyone focused on their daily production tasks, sometimes it's easy to forget that we are part of a vibrant global industry. So yeah, we appreciated that opportunity to visit with them. And as always, we thank you, dear listeners, for joining us. We hope that you've enjoyed this episode. And if you do like what you've heard, please be sure to spread the word. Tell your friends, tell your farming neighbors about the Cotton Companion podcast. Here's where and how they can find us.
You can find the Cotton Companion in 3 easy ways. First, go to cottongrower.com/companion, or simply click the podcast tab at the top of the homepage. Second, subscribe to our channel on iTunes or wherever you find your podcasts these days. And 3, sign up for our weekly e-newsletter, the Cotton Grower e-News, that's delivered to your email inbox every Tuesday morning. You can do that by going to cottongrower.com/subscribe. Also, be sure to follow Cotton Grower on social media. We are at Cotton Grower Mag on Twitter. And on Facebook, you'll find us by searching for Cotton Grower Magazine.
Cotton Companion podcast is produced twice monthly by Kim Henderson and Tyler Hatch, our talented colleagues, world headquarters for Maestro Media Worldwide in lovely Willoughby, Ohio. I'm Jim Stedman. He's Beck Barnes, and we'll be back with you in a few weeks with the next episode of the Cotton Companion. Until then, stay cool and good day.
God made me a farmer. Yeah, he works and he works and he works and he works all day. God made a farmer.